Hey, I'm Chris Peterson. Welcome to Checkup Prep, your informational video series based on your child's well visit. Probably not a conversation we should be having here at the library. So let's do this. You watch the disclaimer clip, I'll meet you back at the office. Perfect. See you there. While I am a board-certified pediatrician licensed to practice medicine in the state of New Hampshire, this video is meant to be informational only, not an attempt to practice medicine, nor to be diagnostic. It is meant to be used in conjunction with your child's well care visits. Hey, welcome to your 18-month checkup prep visit. Let's talk about foods. I really encourage folks to have dinner time together as a family, teaching your child to eat well. The problem is that toddlers don't always eat as much or as often as what we are eating. And so don't force it, don't be adversarial. Give them good foods, the same foods that you're eating, especially at dinner time. Expect them to eat that. If they don't want to eat it, again, don't be adversarial about it. Let them get down. But if they come back to you hungry, say, oh, great, I still have what you didn't eat before ready for you. If we give them favorite foods, it's just going to foster their pickiness. So I wouldn't get into the habit of making individual meals for children. Everybody's having the same thing. You ain't got enough time to be a short order cook. There's more things for you to do through the day than that. So everybody gets the same meal, not giving them a favorite food because that does certainly foster pickiness. Good foods, we want 24 ounces of whole milk a day, still a vitamin D supplement, still with lean proteins, dairy, fish, chicken, eggs. Those are the things that we want, plant-based proteins. Those are the things we want to use as lean proteins for your child. They are not growing a lot right now, so proteins are not going to be a big piece. In fact, at dinner time, if you give them chicken, rice, and peas, and they eat the rice and they eat the peas and they're pushing back on the chicken, I wouldn't say that they have to eat that. In fact, I would take the chicken off the plate and put more peas on and say, that's a fair change or a fair trade. A little bit more peas, we'll take the chicken off because they just don't need a lot of protein. If they're drinking 24 ounces of milk a day, they're getting 24 grams of protein in that day. So it's all the protein they need at that age. So I would give them that allowance, but I would expect them to eat the things that you guys are eating at dinner time. Fruits and vegetables through the day, whole grains through the day, limiting the amount of added sugar that they're getting. We know that kids that get a lot of added sugar and sweets in the toddler age group want more later. It makes sense. They like it. They know what it is. If we can keep those sweets away, they'll want less sweets later in life. We want 25 grams or less sugar in a day for a child. Let's switch gears for a second. We'll talk about development. At 18 months of age, we're expecting 15 to 20 words. Words just need to be repetitive verbal symbols for consistent material things or actions. They don't need to be perfect phonics quite yet. There may be even times that they come to you saying something, you're like, dude, I have no idea what you want. Show me what you're saying. And then it'll be a word that you all know and remember based on your toddler showing you. 15 to 20 words, imitating the sounds that you guys are making back to them. From a walking standpoint, we'd expect them to be able to walk backwards now. We're not talking about the moonwalk. We're just talking about being able to walk. Typically, it's that I'm going to get you type of thing you say to them, and they take some steps backwards first and then turn and run the other way or walk the other way. So walking backwards is your gross motor. Fine motor, they should be able to throw a ball. They should be able to pull a toy. They should be able to stack 3 blocks on top of each other. And they should be pretty good with using a spoon at dinner time. Socially, they should be listening to a story. They should be looking at the pictures. It should be a much more interactive process. They should be showing you affection, giving you hugs and kisses. It's a wonderful time to have an 18-month-old. It's good that they're so lovey because their behavior definitely can be challenging. We'll get to that in a sec. But first, let's talk about safety. Around the house, same things. Tap water, 120, 125 degrees, limiting the chances of scalding accidents, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, making sure we're limiting secondhand smoke. If you are a smoker, this is the time to quit. 18 months of age, they're doing the things you're doing. You see it around the house. They're modeling you. Soon enough, they're going to think smoking is just what you're supposed to do. Please quit for your baby's health, quit for your own health. Other things to think about from a safety standpoint, hot beverages, cigarettes, small things that they can get to, plastic bags, water, so ponds or pools or rivers, things that they can walk to and get in. When it comes to water safety, and this is scary stuff, I know, but drowning accidents are avoidable. We keep our eyes on the child at all times when you're around the water. They don't make noise when they go under. They see the water, they see the ball, they slide in, and you have a drowning accident. So avoiding that by keeping your eyes on your child, limiting access to water, those are the strategies that will work to keep your child safe from a drowning accident. Bug spray and sunscreen, both okay, but we want to try to avoid the sun the most we can. We want to try to avoid the bugs the best we can. Tick checks, if there are ticks in your community then we want to check your child twice a day, in the morning and at night, making sure there's no ticks. That'll really reduce your chance of Lyme almost down to 0. If you're doing any sort of bike riding or those kinds of things, now that your child is older, ensure they have a helmet. Wearing a helmet yourself, again, they model you. You're not at any lower risk of having a head injury if you come off that bike. So keep a helmet on your head, introducing helmets to their head as well. Again, looking around the house from a child-proofing standpoint, making sure that new furniture that you got is nicely attached to the wall so they can't climb on it and tilt it down on top of themselves and have an accident that way. And then the car seat, still that rear-facing car seat. We're going to be rear-facing for another 6 months until 2 years of age, and we can turn them around, be forward-facing. I know their legs are crunched up, but they're going to be safer in a 5-point restraint, rear-facing, back seat being the safest spot. 35,000 Americans are killed every year in car crashes. So mitigate that risk for your child by keeping them in that rear-facing car seat until they're 2. Let's talk just for a second about oral health. So from a tooth standpoint, they probably have somewhere around 16 teeth, 4 molars, 4 eye teeth, 8 incisors. Brushing them is important. I know they may fight you on this. There's going to be some things that they do, but we need to make sure we're getting in and brushing their teeth. We'll talk in a second about behaviors, but brushing your teeth is definitely one that we want to say is not an option. I'm going to get in there and brush your teeth. And we're going to do it well, whether you want to do it nicely or you're going to fight me, but we're going to get those teeth brushed. So brushing their child's teeth, a smear of fluorinated toothpaste across the toothbrush, brushing them, making sure they're getting fluoride either through your municipal water, your well water, or a supplement that your provider has given you, and making a dental appointment for your child to make sure their teeth are getting cleaned and that they're coming in correctly. So let's talk about activities that your child would like. We really want to encourage self-expression within reason. I'm not saying that they should run the roost. In fact, they shouldn't. We'll talk about timeouts in a little bit, but we want them to be able to make their own choices when it's appropriate. So, you want to wear plaids and stripes? Off you go. You want your shoes on opposite feet? That's okay. You want to put your underwear outside the pants? All right, you look like Superman or Wonder Woman. So letting them make some choices, I think, is really important. On the other side of that, we certainly want to make sure that we're putting boundaries around their negative behaviors. So using timeouts for aggression, we don't bite, we don't hit, we don't pull hair, having 4 or 5 things around the house that are timeoutable. Timeouts are really effective at modifying negative behaviors. They don't do a single thing to encourage a behavior. So you can't say, pick up your toys or I'm going to give you a timeout. That won't work. Pick up your toys and then we'll be able to color together. Pick up your toys and then we'll have lunch together. Those kind of things will encourage behaviors, but you can't use a timeout to encourage a behavior. It only really works in order to modify a negative behavior. And it only works if you're consistent with it. So every time they have that negative behavior, using that timeout is important. The most rewarding behavior set for human beings is something called intermittent positive reinforcement. And so if you give your child timeout 99 times because they hit, and then that one time out of 100 you say, I'm too tired, I can't do it, it's an okay thing, that says to them, well, maybe I'll get away with it the next time. And so being really consistent with those timeouts, I think, is important. 10 to 15 seconds, chair turned into the corner, telling them why they're going into the timeout on the way in, making sure they're there in isolation, they're supposed to cry. If timeout wasn't a negative thing, if jail was fun, we'd all want to be there. So if timeout wasn't a negative thing, they wouldn't try to avoid it. And making sure we're praising their good behaviors. Behavioralists would say 3 to 5 times as many positives through the day as you're giving negatives. 10 timeouts means 30 to 50 times through the day that you need to give your child some sort of positive reinforcement. After the timeout is over, snuggle them up, tell them you love them, making sure they know you're still there, but this is an important process to make sure that they're good children and know what the boundaries are. Making sure again that they're able to self-express, but on the other hand, making sure there are things that are important that they have to do. For instance, we talked about toothbrushing. We're going to do this nice, or am I going to have to do it mean? We're putting sunscreen on. You're going in the car seat. There are certain things that we're going to say to them, you need to do these things. You don't have a choice. Again, you want to wear your shoes on opposite feet? Plaids and stripes together? You bet. You want to dress like an elephant today? I think you look wonderful. Some things we're going to let them do, but some things we're going to say, no, you don't have a choice here. And again, that just teaches them for later down the line when they're 14, 15, if we're trying to introduce those concepts, it's way too late. And so we're trying to build on those things for later down the line. Spending time together with your child, reading with them, playing with them, interacting with them, listening to them, showing them that they're important by your interactions with them. Put that phone down yourself so that you can play with your child. Whatever it is can wait until after they're sleeping or when they're taking a nap. It's the only time they really want you that much in their life. Making sure we're modeling good behaviors in front of them, being polite, being respectful, dealing with anger and frustration in a positive ways. Those are going to be important things as they watch you and learn how to interact with the world through your modeling. Teach them what joy, anger, frustration are as emotions, because they're going to run into them. And if we can put names on them, it'll be easier for us to help them manage them later down the line. If you're sad, don't tell them you're not. They see that you are. Now you're just lying to them, and they know that. So say to them, yeah, I'm sad because of this. I'm happy because of this. This is what we do when we're happy. This is what we do when we're sad. This is how I deal with frustration. This is how I deal with anger. All really powerful things for your child for later on. Temper tantrums, we want to still try to ignore or avoid the temper tantrums. If you take that cell phone away and they throw themselves down onto the ground and are kicking and screaming, saying things like, I'm sorry you don't like the word no, but what you're doing right now doesn't change no. When you're done with yourself, done with this temper tantrum and have self-settled, then come find me and I'll be ready to love you. And then reassuring them when they do it and giving them praise. Making sure you're limiting their access to electronics, limiting the TVs, limiting the DVDs, limiting the movies that they can watch, the games that they can play. They're really not that helpful for them. They would much rather sit and play with you than they would watch a movie or use an electronic game. And then finally, taking time for yourself. I know, I say, spend your time with your child, but we need you upright. We need a good relationship between you and your spouse or your partner. So making sure that you are taking those things, those times, to make yourselves as whole as you can. Get sleep, interact with others, make sure we keep our calm, anxious-free face as we show our children what a good, wonderful world that we live in. I hope you're enjoying your child. Stay centered, stay balanced. We'll see you next time. Take care.